Good evening, welcome back to the show. Welcome back to Lead Judges TV. As ever, I'm your host, Dan Potts, and I'm with Lead Judges. And tonight is all about difference of opinions. So we've got a long list of people that we're going to get on. First of all, I want to welcome my bro, Kenny. Kenny, how are you, mate?
I'm very good. The only positive thing I've got is my favourite podcast costume, which is my Arsenal dressing gown that my family bought me. So, yeah, it's one of the things. Whenever I do a podcast, I always go have the dressing gown on. It's, people.
Have you got your boxers on?
Actually, I've got my Arsenal shorts on as well. You're talking about the time on TV when I had those fluorescent running shorts, but Lee to this day reckons they were not running shorts, those boxers, because they were see-through. and it was live TV on Sky, and he's never let me, live that down.
Right. Well, listen, I'm glad you're dressed for the occasion, Kenny. Someone else is dressed for the occasion.
You see me leg? You see me knee?
Oh, put it away. Put it away. Put it away.
Leave another brown.
Someone who's dressed for the occasion as Gareth Southgate selects his England team is Mike Feinberg. He's just arrived back. How are you, Magic Mike?
Hello, mateys. How are you doing tonight?
Oh, that's good. I'm liking that. That weren't bad, actually. For you, that weren't bad, mate.
You know what I mean? Like, you know what I mean? Like,
Did you get butter, or are you okay now?
Yeah, well, I got by the chat room after the uncensored debut on Sunday, and so I've just been battered into submission. I can't admit that I'm American anymore.
Who's this American guy? Who's this American guy?
Because the American guy has absolutely no credibility, doesn't know what real Arsenal fans are like. So,
I'll give you a rest.
These are 16-year-olds who,
That's all my family.
Absolutely. Yeah. That was Lee's little cousins. Quality. Guys, let's get cracking. We thought we'd invite people on to have their say. Me and Lee have been talking for
what's going on?
Come on. I did say I was with Lead Judges. But go on, Lee. How you doing, Lee? Go on.
Yeah, I'm all good. I just want to say, look, before Donna goes mad, look, I've met Donna, which is Dan's mum, right? Yeah. She's a lovely lady. Right? She's a lovely lady. But I've got this feeling that you don't want to get on the wrong side of it, So if you've not subscribed to Dan's channel, subscribe now, because I don't think you want the wrath of Donna Potts. So get yourself subscribed.
I can tell you from experience, from someone who got off on the wrong foot with her a couple of days ago.
I'll tell you what, if looks could kill, I said something. I didn't agree with Dan the other week when we done that thing at the Hippodrome. And if looks could kill, I would be a dead man.
Was it? Oh, wow. Do you know what, though? The worst thing to do is when my mum's got a wine on her hand, is throw it all over her. And that's what Mike did. So,
there you go. That is typical.
I did not.
You know what it is, guys?
It's the same. Oh, sorry, Ken.
When you're in the chat room, there's always a Donna Potts putting in comments, very defensive of her lovely son, and very positive comments. And I thought,
do you know what?
I thought I need to meet this woman. And then when I actually met your mum, I went, "Is your name Donna Potts?" She said, "Yeah." Oh, so you're the one who's always fighting your son's battles, then? We just had a laugh about that anyway. And they should be there when I said that anyway.
And I'll tell you what, I've got to say this now. If you ever met Steve, which is Dan's dad, he's just, and I don't mean this badly, Donna, he's just instantly a likable guy. Do you know what I mean? You just love him, like he's just the nicest guy you ever wished to meet. And then, you know what I mean, like, and then there's Donna, who I'm scared of. I'm gonna say it now. I am scared of Donna. I'll say that now. Steve, you could not be scared of, like, but Donna, I'm wary of Donna. I have to say that. Like, but she's lovely.
Steve is possibly a beautiful wife, and the mom is. I mean, look, I just want to say this in front of the world. I really, really am sorry, Donna. I did not mean to turn your white top red. Within literally, there was like the hug, and then there was the spill, and I guess I'm starting to get known for this. I get bumped into and I spill on somebody. The same thing happened with Tom Canton 4 years ago at the 12th.
So, I remember that.
Do not crowd me, or I will ruin a relationship with somebody.
Oh, you absolutely soaked him. Do you remember that? That was so, unbelievable.
What about the thing that fell in my drink?
That's another thing.
That's another thing, right?
That's a story for another day. That is. Yeah. I'm sure if you want to know about that, you go over to the Gooners pod, because that's been said a lot of times over there. That is another channel on another show. Let's get on with this one. The season is done. The Premier League season is done. The Champions League final was on Saturday, which I'm going to sit and enjoy and not really care who wins. Don't really want to see Liverpool winning it, if I'm honest, but I think they probably will. Another trophy this season for the Arsenal. Another disappointing end for the Arsenal. But some are saying that it's been okay. Some are seeing the season as a progressive season. Some have enjoyed it. Some have not enjoyed it. Lee, before I come to Kenny and Mike, who I think are going to have very different opinions, what's your thoughts now that Everton's done, the season's done? And let's be honest, against Newcastle and Tottenham, we were feeling pretty hard done by. Everton, for me, I don't know how you felt, I went into it relaxed, knowing that we were done, knowing that it was all over. And I have had a couple of days, obviously, since, and I've accepted it now. And everything I've been saying for the last 2 years has not really changed, in my opinion, but I want to know where you're at right now, mate.
I'm going to be really honest. I found the Everton game very, very hard to deal with. Very, very hard. I thought, part of me was going, look how well they're playing now. And that pissed me off a little bit, because we didn't do it in the games that mattered. I felt that, the pressure was off. So that, again, that relaxing sort of football was there. But ultimately, I'm going to say this now. After it's all happened, it's not as bad as what the fear of it, like, do you know what I mean? But it ain't been as bad as what I thought it was going to be. I've accepted it that we're not quite there. But ultimately, I don't care what anybody says. And I get people want to be happy about the season and want to be happy where we are and everything like that. But for me, standards have dropped so high that if you're happy to come below Tottenham, not in my book. You know what I mean? I've grown up with Arsenal being the dominant force, Tottenham really just being a pain, really. Like, you know what I mean? When we're going for things, for instance, they're playing Man United 3, Tottenham 0. When we'd play them, it would be a real battle. And for the last 6 years, they've took over and been on top of us. And any Arsenal fan that turns around and says, yeah, I'm happy with that, I don't get. I'm not going to criticise them or whatever, because it's everybody's opinion. But ultimately, to lose out to Tottenham has left a sour taste in my mouth. I'm going to be really, really honest. If you'd said at the beginning of the season, would I have took 5th? I would have said yes. Would I have took 5th with 3 games left and 4 points clear? Certainly no. Certainly not. And
so
to let Tottenham get here,
was the season a failure, or was the last month of the season a failure then? Because you've just come out and said that they met your expectations. Excuse me. You're saying a minute, Magic Mike or Tragic Mike. You know what I mean? Like, whatever way you want to look at it. Right. So for me, I think that by the failure of not getting top 4 with 4 points with 3 games to go, I do look at it as a failure at the end of the day, because I think Arsenal should have nailed 4th spot.
Yeah, I'm with you. Before we bring Kenny in, Mike, you've got a little bit of difference of opinion in terms of seeing it as a success or a failure. I think at the start of the season, when I spoke to you after the first 3 games, I think everybody was down in the dumps. And I remember going to, I think it was the Watford game, and you come out saying, look, the first 3 games were awful, but we're starting to win now, picking it up. And it's fair to say that you've been fairly positive throughout most of the season, speaking to myself. So what's your thoughts now that it's all over?
He's only got one question.
Excuse me. It's my turn now. It's a stupid question. No, I I have a different definition of success and failure than most people do. I don't look at things as binarily as a lot of people do, and I think that's why I kind of get characterized as being positive. I'm positive for self-preservation purposes because I've had a lot of negative things that have occurred in my life, and I just rather not dwell on it. But that's a whole different situation. I can get to the whole psychological reason, but from an evaluation of the season, I don't understand the logic of someone saying, if you had asked me before the season if I'd be happy with fifth, I would have been, but now I see the thing as a failure. Because to me, the season is the greatest zero-sum game there is. It's the greatest equalizer there is. You play every team home and away. There are some differences. COVID gets involved, rescheduling, fixture congestion when you play the teams, but ultimately it's as spread out as it can be. Spurs ended up ahead of us by 2 points this season, which is the biggest disappointment of all. I would have been, and I think I would speak for most people saying if we had been fifth and they'd been sixth, we wouldn't be as upset as us being fifth and them being fourth. But we only have limited amount of control over that. We battered them in our place in September, and they kicked the shit out of us in theirs at the time of the season where it mattered the most. It's not like, we absolutely didn't show up against them at all. We played one good game against them. They played one good game against us. Those are the two things we have the most control over, not who they sign in the January window, not who they sign as their manager on an 18-month contract. We've got to take care of our own business. And there are two massive periods, not including the first three games of this season, and that's January and May, where we didn't get the job done. And those stretches are absolute cataclysmic failures. But when you look at the season as a whole, to go from 13th to 8th to 8th to 5th is unfortunately perhaps a bit too slow of an improvement, but it's still an improvement. And when you add on a lot of the other things that are going on at our club that are influenced by the current regime, that I think put us in better stead going forward, I can't see how you say it's not an improvement. It's not ideal, and I'm not calling it a smashing success, but I'm ready for next season now.
Thanks for coming on, Mike. Really enjoyed that. See you later. Have a nice time.
Kenny, success or failure, man? You've heard what Mike said. What's your thoughts, bro?
Take a breath, Kenny. Take a breath.
It's been a mitigated disaster from start to finish. We spent £250 million to go from 2 8th place finishes to 5th. For people to even come out with the mythology, this is a successful season, they said their heads tested. It's not a successful season. We had no European football where we weren't were tired. So why are people saying it's a success? As Arsenal Europa League club, they're not a top four club. So why are people coming up with this myth of success? Let's just break down one myth. People said after the first three games, I'd been out with 5th place. Well, let me tell you something. After the first 3 games, there was 35 games left. And we went on a run, and then we didn't lose until we lost to Liverpool in November. Fact. And then we had on a little bit of a run, and we lost narrowly to Man United, and we got the disaster at Goodison Park, and then we went on another run and lost against Liverpool. We had the top 4 on our hands, and the only reason why we haven't got the top 4 were 2 reasons. Mikel and Arteta. Let's talk about Spurs, because a lot of people think that we haven't got control over that. Well, but to a certain extent, we could have had an opportunity to, like I said, benefit at their demise because they sacked Santo in November and got in Conte. So they were in a situation where they were way behind the 8 ball when it came to the top 4, just like Man United were when they sacked Conte, and still we didn't capitalise. And the reason why we didn't capitalise is because in January, instead of Mikel Arteta, who is part of the transfer committee, because let's dispel this other myth that, it's the Kroenkes. Hang on it. If you're the team manager, then you're on the transfer committee with Per Mertesacker, Vinay, and Edu. So you have a direct, influence over who we buy and who we don't buy. But what he did, he spent more time on outgoings and trying to enhance his reputation and crack his fist about getting the dressing room right, and people praised him for that. Oh, at least he got rid of the bad eggs. Oh, at least he's got control of the dressing room. Hang on here. Football's about results. I'm in the results business. I couldn't give a bob about what goes in the dressing room. I only care about what goes on the pitch. And Mikel Arteta failed. He spent more time in January trying to, negotiate his new contract instead of trying to get new players. You're trying to say that we didn't have enough money to spend. But what we do, we pat him on the back because we cleared the decks and because we reduced the wage bill and that we're going to have loads of money to spend. But let's just forget about that disaster and one of his mistakes. Let's talk about the football. And the fact is, no European football, no playing every other day. You had enough time to prepare for these games and you failed. And the reason why, or shall we talk about Brighton at home when he didn't play in midfield and he played Jack at left back? Do you want to talk about that? Or can we talk about Crystal Palace's substitutions? Or do you want to talk about the North London derby when he couldn't get us up for the biggest game in our calendar? Everyone's talking about it being the biggest top in North London derby since the year Zog. All North London derbies are big. Doesn't matter where when I was growing up in the 70s, we used to finish 14th and 15th, Arsenal and Tottenham. They were still big then. So what's the difference? You could be up for every game. Let's all about Newcastle. The disaster, even when he brought all the attackers on, what he did tactically is basically enable Newcastle to basically, mark our players and hit us on a break where they had about 4-on-2. So don't exempt him from any blame. Don't call this positive. The fact is that Arsenal is a big club and a beast of a club, and we shouldn't be a top 4 club. Don't get me wrong. Mikel Arteta is a major reason why we didn't get the top 4, and he shouldn't really be in the job. But the Kroenkes, their ambition for this football club is a disgrace. You know, this young team up by design. Do me a favour. Young team by design. Really? You call yourself
and people use that as an excuse, Kenny. People say, but it's a young side. That's by our
rubbish.
own downfall.
That's rubbish. But the most frustrating thing is a narrative that people are just clutching at straws. The thing that Mike said, mentioned and Lee mentioned is that we've got a very deluded fan base where Spurs have gone ahead of us. We've allowed Spurs, obviously it started under last minute, we've allowed them to get the top 4. Not only have they got the top 4, now they've got the top 4. They kept their elite manager. They're going to keep the players that made them a better side, like Kulusevski, Bentancur, and Romero, and then they're going to have a nice war chest because they've got £150 million, investment going straight into players, plus anything they get on top. So any players we go for, and Spurs go for as well, they're going to get because in the Champions League. So don't call this a success. It's a disaster.
What is it about, Kenny? What is it about what I've said that makes that would cause you to think? And I'm not meaning to put words in your mouth. That I'm okay with Spurs getting the. No,
I never said you're okay. I never said you're okay. What I said is that you've alluded to the fact that Spurs have gone ahead of us. I never said you were okay with that. But what you did is me ears pricked up because I was thinking about caning as manager. But the other subplot that you and Lee mentioned was the subplot and the fact that Spurs have run away from us. All right, it started under Arsene, but the fact is that next season, with the war chest they have, with the elite manager, they're going to be challenged for the league. And then
they haven't run away from us. They finished ahead of us.
They're far away. Come on, Mike. Mike, their stadium is better than us. They've got an elite manager, and they've got a team that are better than us in every position. And
what demonstrable statistic or trophy or outcome can you point to?
Come on, we're talking about trophies. We're talking about trophies this year.
They were in the
Mike,
last
if you want to talk about trophies, fine, go about it. When it comes to the league, in the last 6 years, Spurs are moving away from us. And if we're not careful, it's going to be
slot each year, pretty much.
One slot each year. In 2017, they finished second. They finished third. They got a Champions League final. And then even when they were in transition, they were still finishing ahead of us. That's a disaster. Even when they're bad, they're finishing ahead of us. That's a worry for me.
I'm actually worried next season. I think Conte could do something with them. Not win them the league. I don't think they're ready for that. I think Liverpool and City have saved that for embarrassment. But I think the way they're going with their stadium, with the Conte, with who they've bought in, I think I'm worried for them. I'm worried about them.
The stadium is going to be an albatross for them. We could have finished them by knocking them out of the top 4.
We didn't, Mike.
No, we didn't.
We didn't. And the reason why we didn't is because of poor management by the current incumbent in the job. And that's
Yeah.
that's
that's
fact.
fine, but let's not act like
single-handedly cost us a top four with his poor decision making, not just on within the tactics and team selection, but also with his business in the transfer market in January. This is on him. He is the alpha and omega when it comes to the football.
Conte, in my opinion, Conte would have taken us to third this year. That's my honest opinion. I think we would have got ahead of Chelsea.
Yeah.
I think we would have come third this year because he's elite.
Players?
We're stuck with him.
Why are people giving this manager a high approval rating? Unai Emery, the manager that is basically the bête noire of Arsenal Football Club, you know, the two-headed monster, 3 years ago, finished, got 70 points, have got to the Europa League final. Yet he's like basically he's like the Antichrist. Apparently we conceded 35 shots and there was no sustainability in what we played. Oh yeah, Brighton at home, there was a lot of sustainability there, wasn't there? Or Newcastle away.
History on Unai Emery, I can't even believe it.
Do you think
what's wrong with doing that? What's wrong with doing that? Because the same standards we held Unai Emery to, why can't we hold this manager to? Why?
Do you remember?
Ask a question?
Do you remember where we were 3 months into the 2019 season after Baku?
Yeah, and do you remember where we were? Do you remember where we were last season, where Mikel Arteta was breaking records after records, and they weren't great records; they were adverse records. All the teams beating us at home. What's the difference?
Do you know? Can I ask a question?
Go on, Lee. Go on, Lee.
You know, because we can go around about. The fact is that Tottenham have got top four now, and there's a report that they're going to spend 150 million, Do we expect Arsenal to match that, or do we expect Arsenal to go lower than that? Because if they do, because at the end of the day, Tottenham are in a situation where they've got a new stadium, everything like that. They're not selling their best players like we was 10 years ago, 15 years ago, and getting like, it's got to be top four. It's got to be top four. There seems to be a different mentality to them than us, because we weren't spending £150 million after 2 years of moving in to our new stadium.
Yeah, and the television deal was about a quarter of what it is now. That's why we weren't spending 150 million then, because the top transfer fees were 25 to 30 million pounds, not 100. I mean, comparing eras. Sorry, Lee, but the Tottenham's issue with the stadium right now, they are so burdened with debt that if they miss the Champions League 1 year, they are hosed. They are absolutely screwed.
Yeah, but when they first built the stadium in 2019, they missed the Champions League in 2020 and 2021. So they've already and they're $1 billion plus in debt. They're hosed now.
And they're $1 billion in debt, and not the kind of debt that Roman Abramovich gave them. They are $1 billion in debt. The news about them getting 150 million, I don't mean to encroach into other people's time, but that 150 million, people just assume that's going to be a transfer kitty or added to an existing transfer kitty. Watch how much of that goes to pay debt.
Well, we have to wait and see. But the fact is, they are where we should be. They're in the top four.
I agree, Kenny.
They're going to be playing the best teams in Europe and having a chance of getting to the final again, which they got to in Madrid. And we're going to be playing in a competition. And this is where I have a problem where people say success. When we were in the Europa League, a lot of Arsenal fans moaned violently about being in that competition. They hated it. So why are they happy about being in it now? Why?
Context.
Why Lynn Simpson? Why Umar 92? Why Gunner 93? Please speak to me, because you criticise me regularly about my views in the club. So how about answering that?
Context.
You say that I'm different on other shows than I am now. Well, I'm not. The only thing I'm consistent about is demanding the highest standards for our great club, and that's all I care about. I don't care about anything else except for, and I won't rest until Arsenal are back where they belong, challenging on a regular basis for the league and in Europe.
Kenny, I'm with you, mate. I'm with you 100%, mate. And I do think, honestly, what you're saying, personally, is spot on. And I've been saying it for a long time. And I think when we bring up Unai Emery, no one likes to hear it. Actually, all of us wanted him sacked. Kenny weren't any different. I wanted him sacked as well. But my point with it is that he got us in the same bloody league position with a much worse side and got sacked. So now we're supposed to just accept that it's okay because it's a different guy who's got a different philosophy with a young team, that everything's going to be okay. And that's what I find hard to believe. I just thought the standards we as a club should raise, as a fan base should raise, is not, yeah, fifth is progress and we're okay with it, because I'm not. Guys, we have got to move it on because I've got loads of people waiting here, and we're 25 minutes in. But
Sorry,
I
mates.
thank you both for coming on.
No,
No,
well said.
I'm glad what you
enjoyed
both
that.
said.
Good
I
argument,
think
that. Good
both
argument.
of you were all good, and when you back up your
Yeah.
opinions, it's all
Good
good.
points. Good points. Good
Good
points,
points,
Miles.
mate. Mike,
Great
thank
to see
you,
you
mate.
all over the weekend. Great to see you guys. I love it.
I was going to say
I'll talk to you
thanks.
again,
I'm glad you had a safe journey. And I'm going to watch Silent Witness now and eat my hamburger and chips.
You enjoy it, Ken. You enjoy it. Bro, thank you so much for coming on, Ken. Thank you, Mike. Absolute pleasure, mate.
Take it easy, guys.
Cheers, guys.
Can I take my dressing gown off now?
No,
Yeah,
wait till you're off here.
Wear
All
what
right,
you want.
okay,
Yeah.
no problem. See you later.
See you later, Ken. Oh, my word. Wow, I thought we were going to be there for a while.
Good points made by. But this is
Listen,
what I like
both,
about
it's difference of
both
opinions,
supporting
mate.
the Arsenal. Both got completely different views, and that's and what I like about that, Dan. And I don't care what anybody says. There's no one right or no one wrong. That's their views.
Yeah.
You know, Mike's got views on what it is, and I resent it when people turn around and say, "Oh, because Mike's American or something, he doesn't feel it like that." He does.
He can
He's
take that, man. He
I think
he
that's.
It is wrong, though. It is wrong. It is wrong.
Yeah, he's
when
got the
people
wrong
say
point
that.
of view, but
He takes it. I didn't mean that, but yeah,
what I'm saying is he's very, very passionate. And listen, I had the pleasure of meeting a load of the American guys over the weekend, and their passion should not be dismissed in any shape or form, or any foreign fan really. And you know their commitment is as strong as us. And the fact is, they're all Arsenal fans, you know, and I think it's fantastic
100%.
that we got fans all over the world. I think it's great.
Well, Lee, I'm going to let you introduce our next two. I've brought somebody on with two people on with a difference of opinion. First of all, it's our lovely Lucy. How you doing, Luce?
Hi guys, I'm good, thank you.
Hello, Lucy. How are you? All right?
Lovely to be on again, guys. Always a pleasure.
Brilliant.
Always
Can I
a
introduce
pleasure.
the next guy? It's the cricketing batsman and bowler of fantastic ability, and he's my main man, Georgie boy. I love this guy. He is absolutely 100% top guy. And I'll tell you what I'm going to say about George. Me and George have got little bits of difference of opinions, but again, we can talk about it and still get on.
Yeah,
Isn't that funny?
Isn't that right, George?
George agrees with everything I say, though, don't you, George? He agrees with everything I say.
I'm not going to lie. When Kenny was talking, I was shaking my head so much. I was just like,
George, you have a difference of opinions to myself,
Yeah, exactly.
and at times Lee as well. But let's start with you.
Yeah.
What's your opinion now that it's all over? Because you've been very much pro Arteta at times. You think he deserves more time. Is that still the case now, George?
yeah, I agree with what has been said. Like at the start, top five, if someone said fifth, would you have took that? Then realistically, yeah. But targets do change. So, being in a position like Lee said we did throw it away. So, like I'll back Arteta, but he did make mistakes.
100%. And I think any fan, George, really has got the right to feel a little bit disappointed by that. I don't, you know, if you're happy with it, fair enough. But if Arsenal fans are not happy with that, and I'm one of them, I think they should be given that understanding as well, you know. And I don't think there is that so much understanding in it, like, you know.
Yeah, the one thing I will pick up on was like about Arteta, and it will come across that I'm sticking up for him, that he couldn't get the players up for the Tottenham game. So why is that all on Arteta? Why is them players not took any criticism? Because I don't care if you're 12 years old, 32 years old, however, you should be getting up for a North London derby that gets you a top 4 finish.
No, I think that's a good point, George. I think it's a good point.
And the only person
I seriously think the players weren't up for that game. I don't believe that. I just think that maybe
they didn't seem like it. Well, at Newcastle as well, they didn't seem like it.
I think they threw it away, personally.
The Tottenham game, I think it came more down to a lack of experience rather than a lack of
100%. I agree.
Because the atmosphere was mental, like it was crazy. So I feel like it took it out of them. They weren't expecting it, and obviously they need to be coached into that. And that's not sort of the place that we're at the moment with all these young players. But again, like Dan said, that's our own downfall. We've got a young team. that's what Mikel wanted.
And
That's
the
what
thing
the
is,
board
Luce,
wanted.
we had a young team, and I didn't back the process for that reason. I don't think youth projects win you stuff. But who were the two players that let us down in that game? It weren't kids. It was Rob Holding and
With two
Cedric,
experience.
experienced
Yeah.
ones.
Exactly.
You know, so throughout the season, as much as they have cost us at times, the young kids, not as much as some of the red cards, penalties, and mad decisions we've seen from the experienced players like Partey getting sent off, Chaka getting sent off, Holding giving away penalties and getting sent off, Cedric.
Dan, can I ask a real big question to these two guys?
Of course, mate.
And it's one that's worrying me now. And we'll talk about Mikel. It's a little bit on Mikel, this, right? The England squad was announced today, and Smith Rowe's been left out of it, like, you know. And I think at the end of the day, we didn't get top four, and we went with Eddie, who's not going to be here next year. And I'm worried now that Smith Rowe might be a little bit unsettled by all this because, you know, he's played Eddie every game. Now Eddie's going to leave. Eddie's not nowhere near in the England squad, and Smith Rowe, I think, is, you know, we could have actually gone Martinelli up front and got Smith Rowe in the team. Chose not to do it. I know Eddie scored 5 goals and everything but for the long term, for me, Smith Rowe is the future because he's signed a long-term deal where Eddie's refused to, and I think this could be another problem for Mikel Arteta.
Yeah, I think, you know, you're right. I think that everybody was questioning two things with that. If we've got enough strength in depth, so some people can't complain when you've got Smith Rowe on the bench, is a good sub to bring on. At the same time, when Eddie Nketiah is playing ahead of you, I don't really think that's great news for Martinelli, Smith Rowe, or Ødegaard or Saka when one of those has got to miss out for Eddie playing up top. Now, Eddie, some will say Eddie did great and he scored 5 goals and etc. and he's fantastic and he deserves a new contract. I don't stand with that. I think personally, I'd rather see the other lads who are going to be here moving forward playing. When I look at what he's doing with Smith Rowe, and at times Martinelli, Lee, at the start of the season, he was the one missing out. I don't know that he's managed that so well. I don't know what your thoughts are there, Luce.
To be honest, I've been working all day. I have not seen the England squad announcement at all. But on another note, you could say as well that obviously that has stretched Saka too thin. So Emile Smith-Rowe needs to look at this as more of an opportunity. You play for Arsenal Football Club. I know every youngster wants to play for their international team. I understand what an honour that is. But on retrospect, he can now focus on getting himself fit for the next season, for the Europa League, to really put his head down and sort of get back into the squad and focus on doing bits for us as well.
Yeah, no, I think you're right. Luce, let's just stay with you before we come back to George. Like, where do you see things at the Arsenal currently with how Mikel Arteta's done? And like going into next season, does it fill you with any excitement at all? Could you get behind the project at all?
It's just simply not good enough. And I feel like we talk a lot about the last 3 seasons Mikel's been here and about how we've been sold a dream. But as young as I was when we left Highbury, we've been sold a dream ever since we came to the Emirates, because the whole idea of coming to this new stadium was so we could compete in the Champions League against the Bayern Munich of the time, the Barcelona of the time, and now we can't even qualify. So realistically, people get angry at us for being angry and for being negative, but it's more about the downfall in the long run. Like, we've gone from being a big club to a successful club with history to sort of, we can't even qualify for the teams that against the teams that are surpassing us. Tottenham are surpassing us. It's embarrassing. It's not good enough at all. I can't sit here and say I'm happy with 5th place. I can't sit here and say I'm happy with Europa League, and I'm not going to call it a success because I really don't think. Yes, there's progress, but not as much as there should have been.
Yeah, fair play. George, I need to come to you. Like, convince us why this project is worth trusting.
See, you always do this to me, Dan. I don't like. I back Arteta, but I've said to you numerous things. I don't think there is a project. I think Arteta is the project. At the end of the day, like the young players we've got, that's no excuse. Like you said, the experienced players have not really been doing it for me. I agree with Lucy. Like, for me, this season isn't a success, but we are moving in the right direction. Like, no disrespect, I said it before we lost against Palace, Brighton and all that. Arsenal would not get top 4 with Alex Lacazette and Eddie Nketiah. I've been absolutely abused for my views on Lacazette, but I just don't. For a long time, I don't think he's good enough. Like, I don't think he's good enough. For a long time, I don't think he's good enough. For a long time, I don't think he's good enough. For a long time, I don't think he's good enough. For a long time, I don't think he's good enough. For a long time, I don't think he's good enough. For a long time, I don't think he's good enough. For a long time, I don't think he's good enough. For a long time, I don't think he's good enough. For a long time, I don't think he's good enough. For a long time, I don't think he's good enough. For a long time, I don't think he's good enough. For a long time, I don't think he's good enough. For a long time, I don't think he's good enough. For a long time, I don't think he's good enough. For a long time, I don't think he's good enough. For a long time, I don't think he's good enough. For a long time, I don't think he's good enough. For a long time, I don't think he's good enough. For a long time, I don't think he's good enough. For a long time, I don't think he's good enough. For a long time, I don't think he's good enough. For a long time, I don't think he's good enough. For a I think we'll go out and I know it was mentioned earlier. I think we will go out and spend money in the summer, because we've been sold. Oh, it's all about the summer. It's all about the summer, because that's all we've heard, isn't it? Right.
Mm-hmm.
So, who we get, I don't know. But I just, like I said to you before, Dan, I think we all say about the managers, who's the root cause of all of this? And it goes back to the Kroenkes. It's all right saying, Arteta spent 250 million or whatever over so many years. But what, because the Kroenkes have backed us a couple of times, like Lucy said, we was meant to be competing against Bayern Munich when we left Highbury. We were lucky if we could compete against Brighton at some stages, which is embarrassing. Like, I don't want to lose. I don't want to bloody lose top 4 to Tottenham. Like, you don't hear. But I think I said this to you on Sunday. Like, if we're having this conversation, maybe next, like in the new year, then maybe what they're going to do, sack Arteta, then who they're going to bring in. We're never going to ever bring anyone in like a Conte or someone like that, because the board don't want that.
I tend to agree, George, if I'm honest. I do tend to agree.
The board will not bring anyone in who's got a mouth. As horrible as that sounds, everyone says about Unai Emery, like, yeah, he got us to a Europa League final where, no disrespect, we got embarrassed by Chelsea, and we were bad. But we did go through phases where we was good, and from what I remember, didn't we bottle top 4 against Tottenham when Aubameyang missed the penalty?
And as much as I do think that Arteta did go into the Tottenham game, I think he bottled it. You saw him get off the coach. You saw his head wasn't there. But you've got to go back again to the top of the pyramid. Who has employed Arteta? Who has then given him a contract extension and announced it in the middle of a season when we're already receiving inconsistent results? It's the board, it's the Kroenkes. It's got to look to the top of what's going on, and it's always comes back to them.
It's like they can't play in a loud stadium as well, to me, at the minute.
I've got to ask this question, and I'm going to ask all three of this, right? How would we feel if Manchester United overtake us next season? Because with a new manager and everything like that, if they were to come above us or challenge, I think, they're in a worse state than we've ever been. What does that say about Arsenal?
Comes down to the manager.
Well,
comes down to the manager.
I'm afraid it's going to, because at the end of the day, Manchester United have gone down a couple of routes. But if Man United have to pull their socks up and start challenging for top 4 and coming above us, I think that really does go bad on us. And would you bet on Man United coming above us? They shouldn't. No. But I wouldn't bet against it.
Recruitment. I wouldn't bet against it. Recruitment's massive for that. I think with Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, Ole Gunnar Solskjaer had come above us, by the way. So, it ain't all about just getting the elite manager in as far as Man United are concerned. When it comes to the players they've got now, I don't think they're at the races. Their heads are just completely gone. So it's all on recruitment for me. But you're right, Lee. If they get ahead of us as well, which I don't think anyone could sit there and say, we'll definitely finish above Man United next year, because I don't know what sort of summer they're having. All I do know is that they're massively linked with the striker that I want, Darwin Núñez, and they're in the same competition as us. They're out of the Champions League. So, why aren't we trying to go for him? I don't know what your thoughts are, George.
Well,
go on, Lucy. You can go.
Go on, Lucy.
I was just going to say, obviously, as much as we are focused on trusting the process of what we've got going, we've got to remember how after all this time, City and Liverpool and now even Tottenham, they're always going to be getting further and further in front of us, because their ambition is so much higher. And Tottenham in itself, we can all sit here and be like, we're a trophy this, trophy that. But right here, right now, they are better than us. And that is the worrying thing. We can't live in the past, as we used to say to, obviously, Man United. We can't keep doing that. We need to see some progress now.
Yeah, I'm with you. George?
Yeah, I'll put myself out there. I don't think Man United are finishing above us next season. But
they shouldn't, George. Because I think I don't care what anybody says about Man United. They're in disarray. At this moment in time, Manchester United are in disarray. They can't win a game. They're all over the shop, losing to everybody they play away from home. There's hell of a lot of work to do there. And if they were to turn it around, and I don't forget they've got a bit of the financial clout, but Arsenal should have got financial clout. They choose not to use it. Manchester United have always spent a lot of money, but if they were to come above us next season after dropping so low, I think that's a massive problem.
Yeah. But that's the difference, like you said, Lee. Like Man United, their board have got that financial cap what they will use. I don't think Arsenal have. Like it's all right saying we spent 150 million in or whatever it was in the summer, but realistically, out of them players, how many of them do you think that we really need? Like you got to think, Lokenga and Tavares were two of those players.
It does mind nothing about this 150 million, like it's a massive thing as well. Like Manchester City bought that on one player, 100 million pound on one player.
It's not a lot of money in football now.
No, in terms of what it is, it's not a lot of money. Thank you very much, Lucy. It's not 150. Oh, it's fantastic. It's about about the norm. You know what I mean? Like 150 million ain't going to get you anywhere near top four. I'll tell you what, if Newcastle spend 150 million, if Newcastle spend 150 million this season, they will not get top four.
No.
Right? I'll say that now. So why is everybody going, Arsenal spent 150 million and they're expected to get top four? If Manchester United have a budget of 150 million, they will not get top four. But why is it all
probably do that on one player?
It's unbelievable. Do you know what I mean?
But I just think they've got to see what the summer is like. It's been built up that we need strikers because I don't think you need to be a rocket scientist or even have eyesight to realise that we ain't got goal strikers up front. And all
that's
this,
where we've got to spend a lot of money. I agree.
But it just does my head in, like, because no disrespect, like we win a few games, and this is, I'll say it, like I know Kenny said we have a deluded fan base. I think that's a very generalised comment, but I think we have a very bipolar fan base. Like, so we win a few games. Oh, give Nketiah a new deal. Why? Do you see Timo Pukki getting a move when he scores a couple of goals? Because what's the difference? Like, Nketiah's not good enough. Like, and then Cedric has a good few games. Oh yeah, so we'll keep him. Elmeni's a good squad player. Oh, but he ain't. Him and Xhaka are not good enough to be for us to battle.
No,
but could you see Xhaka and Elmeni? But could you see Xhaka and Elmeni in any of those top four teams, first 11?
They wouldn't make it into Liverpool.
No, but listen, I'm a big thing of this. You still got to have a squad player. You've got to have squad players. You know, I look back at Arsenal when they've won things. Richardson wasn't never going to get into lots of other first teams, but he done a job for Arsenal. All the way you look around that, you need that. And I think that you're right what you're saying here, George. Xhaka and Elneny shouldn't be leading the line for the last 6 or going into games like Tottenham Hotspur away as our midfield and expecting us to dominate a midfield. And you're right. And the thing about Eddie, I don't care what anybody says. Yeah, give Eddie a new contract, but he's a backup striker at best. He's not the one to lead the line. If he wants to go and lead the line and play regular games, bye-bye. Go and play. Go and lead the line somewhere else.
Football, my
dear.
Championship football.
Yeah, that's his level for me. Like, I'm not.
Yeah.
100%. I don't think that's harsh.
And then you've got Lacazette as well. Like, no disrespect. Like, that's one thing I'll hold my hands up with Arteta. I think he made a mistake when he named Lacazette captain. And the reason I say that is because then afterwards you're hearing, whether it was him or people, agents saying, oh yeah, but I want to play Champions League football, and I have spoke to other people. What sort of role model does that show to the other players? Oh, here's your captain. Like, and then other stuff like Tierney and Partey get injured, and we're like the Titanic. Like, it shouldn't be like that.
It does show you how thin the squad is, though. It shows you how lacking we are in players.
And we were getting rid of more players in January, which has made it even more thin. I never understood that. Guys, absolute pleasure having you both on.
Thanks for having me on.
Thank you.
Cheers, George. Cheers, Lucy.
And listen, from behalf of me and Lee, both of you, you've been amazing support to this channel this
thanks
season.
For your
really, really have.
Love it.
Nice. You're both are legends, so thanks for having me on.
You're
I'll
a legend
pay you
too,
later,
George.
Dan, that's all right.
Yeah, that's it, bro. That's it. You know. George, thank you, mate. Top man, Luce. Always a pleasure. Thank you both.
Bye.
Enjoy the rest of the show. Bye.
Yeah, cheers, George. Take care, mate. let's bring another couple on, shall we, Lee? Let's get some
Because
other opinions.
Not one hog from another, is it? Not another hoggies for another, is it?
Someone who loves the Cronkies. Hey, going to Russ.
Oh, there he is. Right, yeah, I mean.
How you
Good
doing,
evening.
Russ?
Yeah, very well, thanks, Dan. Yeah, hangover's gone.
Oh, good, mate. Good. And making her debut on the channel is Miss Coco. It's Colleen. Colleen, how are you?
Hello, boys. You're right. How we doing?
Yeah, all
How we
good,
doing?
man. Listen, thanks for jumping on. Much appreciate it. Much
all right.
appreciate it. Let's start with Hoggy, then we'll come to you, Colleen. I think I know where this one's going, Russ, but I want you to get everything off your chest. You've been very, very vocal about this ownership for a long time, mate, and I'm there with you. I think when you look at what Mikel Arteta has done this season, a lot of people are mixed. But you point the fingers a little bit higher, don't you, mate?
Yeah, always go to the head, mate. If you want to kill an animal, you shoot it in the head, don't you? And
I don't know, Russ. Like, I'm an animal lover. I don't know, but
yeah,
there you go.
and that animal is Arsenal Football Club with the Cronkies that have already had their brains blown out because they haven't got a clue what they're doing. I just see on the chat a minute ago a Liverpool fan who said in the 90s and early 2000s, he said that he feared Arsenal. He feared Arsenal. He said he can't believe that we've given a manager, Arsenal Football Club, have given a manager, or coach as he was at the beginning, but then a manager, his first job. Arsenal Football Club have given an absolute novice his first job at the club. That's the Cronkies that have sanctioned that, whether it be under advice from the CEO or whatever, but they've signed that off and allowed that to happen.
Liverpool done that with Kenny Dalglish, though.
Yeah, and their team was a juggernaut, wasn't it? Which was, it came to an end not long after that, but it was a juggernaut. And they always used to promote from within, didn't they, Lee? They had the boot room philosophy, and they used to promote from within. We're completely different now. we've had Wenger there for lots and lots of years. We then threw the Cronkies then threw Mr. Emery under the bus. And let's get a few things straight. I've seen a few things on the chat which have really boiled my proverbials, right? The Cronkies have only took over, only had overall control since 2018. What a load of tosh. Absolute tosh. They've been in overall control of this club, 65% of the club, since 2013. The same mistakes in transfer windows at crucial times are being made year after year, no matter who the employees are below them. The continued use of stat DNA in our recruitment, the continued failure of our training establishment to keep players fit, all under their watch. It's an absolute disgrace. And when people keep bandying these figures about 150 million pound in transfer windows, that's another load of absolute rubbish. 150 million pounds is spread over the course of the 5 years of the contracts of the players or the 4-year terms of the players. So the actual spend in the transfer window is 30 million pounds a year, plus the wages. So please don't tell me we've spent 150 million pounds, because nobody does that. Only very special occasions where big name players like Haaland maybe have a release clause in their contract and the whole whack is put up front. Like Thomas Partey, I think, allegedly his transfer fee had to be paid up front because it was a release clause. So that had to be done. But his wages are spread over the term of his contract. So please don't tell me that's another myth that has been purported by our fans. Don't make excuses for the Cronkies. Call them out, because they have been in charge of this utter mess since 2013, and they were on the board from 2009. So they've been involved in the decline before your very eyes, as my daughter just said, all that time.
I can't, Lee, I'll let you come in with this one. I can't really disagree with much of what he's saying, if I'm honest with you.
Yeah, I get what Russ is saying, but I am of the ilk with the Cronkies. I'm a little bit on. They call me the flip flop, and I'm staying. I've got my flip flops on about this because I'm in the camp is that when they've had sole ownership, and I mean sole ownership, I think they've backed their managers as well as what they can. They have backed Arteta, and we'll see again this summer. I think that I'm going to go out with Russ and have a nice. We'll go to the Prince of Wales in the garden, have a couple of beers in the sunshine, and see what Arsenal do this summer. Like just sit back, put our flip flops on, put our shorts on, Russ, and see what this board is going to do this summer. And if they don't, then I'm going to be firmly on Russ's side. You know what I mean? Like because there's something not quite right, and I do agree with that. Like, but ultimately they back the manager this season. Is it their fault, right, that when we're playing Brighton at home, that the manager takes our only midfield player out and puts him at left back? I don't blame the Kroenkes for that.
Yeah, ultimately it is because they put a novice manager in charge. So I'm afraid that as my Lucy said, the buck stops with them. They are the ultimate decision makers. They can sack him anytime they want, and they've chosen to give him another extension to a contract.
Well, that's another debate, and I agree with. I think that 3 years.
Another point I want to make is I haven't read all of his programme notes that he wrote, but he said that in the future they're going to listen to Mikel and Edu. Well, why weren't they listening to him in January? Because you're not telling me that Mikel and Edu didn't go to the board and say, we need reinforcements. Because if they didn't, they need sacking. Because it was obvious to every man jack of us and lady jack of us that we needed reinforcements in January. I think we all agreed with that. We weren't scoring enough goals.
Yeah, I think that's been a massive downfall.
We had Aubameyang on his way out. We had Lacazette who couldn't hit a barn door with a banjo, and then we had Nketiah. I mean, it was a recipe for disaster, Lee. And I'm afraid.
Yeah, I agree. When I look back on it, and the dust has settled, I don't know how everybody feels about it. I do think that we look at January as a massive mistake, particularly when we was at the bare bones at that time. We was being crying out that we need players, and for them to get rid of players and then all of a sudden like sort of bigging it up. Oh, I've got the squad thinned down and I've saved the wages. Was a real kick in the old left foot. That was a kick in me bad knee. That was like, you know what I mean?
By the way,
100%.
I'll just say one last thing so Colleen can have her piece. We have saved over £100 million a year in wages since Ozil went. Just let that sink in. When people say that we've spent a lot of money, we spent a lot of money. We've saved £100 million in wages.
Well, they're businessmen after all, Russ. They're businessmen after all.
Follow that, Colleen.
Yeah, follow that, Colleen.
I'm not that far off from Russ there, to be fair. I'm on the Kroenkes' necks a little bit. I mean, they've always said, they did say that they weren't never going to fully invest, like put the amount of money that we've always wanted until they had full ownership of the club. And I just don't think we should be going lightly on them. They've not actually achieved anything for us in terms of what our ultimate goal is in terms of challenging and getting a league, consistently being in the Champions League. Now, obviously, this takes some time. And, we were all there during post-Wenger, Unai Emery, Bloomberg, for that small period, and Arteta coming in. And we're getting to this three-year point of having Arteta, and we've missed out on the Champions League. And I think this kind of, for me, I'm kind of teetering when it comes to the Kroenkes. I'm not giving them a pass, but we've just missed out on the Champions League, and it's the manner that we did. I know everyone's saying, what happened if we knew at the beginning of the season we'd be in the situation that we were in, just getting fifth, just being a point or two off, we'd have taken it. But the context is being taken out in terms of the position we were in January, considering that we were given out of nowhere pole position for fourth, and we all knew we needed reinforcements. And obviously that comes down to not just the Kroenkes, but it comes down to Arteta and they're doing in terms of tactics as well. But it's kind of like what Lee said. Until we know what they do this summer, we shouldn't really be being nice to them because, they gave us 150 mil last season, and they have been putting stuff in the club. But if we're going from 5th, 8th, 5th, what is the, we should be not in the neck.
Do you have the confidence, Colleen, as well, that if we do spend, like people always say, we've got another war chest and all the fans get really excited. Do you have the confidence that it'll be spent wisely and it'll be, more youth coming in and more young players added to it? Like, do you like the process of what you're seeing?
I mean, I don't mind youth coming in, but I don't want to be hearing it being used as how are we going to keep bringing in youth every single
as
summer?
an excuse.
We've got a very, very young squad, and I love our young players. Don't get me wrong, their ceiling's very high, and I'm sure most of us can agree. Like, we've got a few rough diamonds there, in Lokonga and Tavares, who have been here for the least amount of time. But overall, we do have a good core group of young players. But I won't be bringing in young players every summer and hearing the same, oh, they're young, they can't adjust to the pressure. I do think we need some experienced players coming in. I mean, we all know about where we're lacking up front and potentially one or two in midfield, and our fullbacks when our first choices are out. So it's not even, it's about spending money wisely. And I think they have a little bit of credit in the bank when it comes to that, because last summer we saw the transfers that we took, and let's be honest, a lot of us were like, this isn't going to work, is it? Your Ramsdales, 50 million on Ben White, Tomiyasu, but they turned out to be really solid signings. So I do think they have a bit of credit in the bank when it comes to that sole aspect, just that bit in terms of transfers, not credit overall. But we're not the only ones who's going to be spending. United have just got. Listen, I don't think United are going to be a threat to us come next season, but because they've got a bigger job than probably us in terms of culturally and structurally inside their club. But they're going to be out spending money. We'll have to see proof in the pudding when it comes to Tottenham and Levy, if he's actually going to spend the money. But everyone's going to be spending. So this is where the small, fine margins come into it. Hence the fine margins between us not getting the Champions League. We had 3 games to go and just needing 4 points. And it's whether Arteta, I think he's a good coach, but it's just whether he can elevate his game tactically, like we were talking about with Brighton, putting Xhaka to left back. It's these small margins. Can he elevate his game to move with Arsenal in the same direction we want to go in? Because if he's just not there, going on the same trajectory of what we expect of Arsenal to be, I mean, he expected Arsenal to be challenging for the Champions League, don't forget, in year 3. So
that's right, he did.
We have to. I mean, there's nothing wrong with asking questions and putting pressure on as a club, because I'm not because the Monkeys are too bothered. I would love to be proven wrong, of course, but we haven't challenged yet, have we? So until we start doing that consistently, getting in top 4 consistently, because if we got top 4 this season, then was out of it again for 2 years. Is that really progress? Oh, because we got it one season, then we tailed off again, going back to 5th or something. We need to go back to being consistent, consistently challenging, consistently being in the top 4. So there's time will tell. It's still it's a bit early, but I'm glad this season's over. Couldn't take one more second bit. Get the window over with, because honestly, I had to wear a Tottenham shirt because of these lot. So I've been.
Oh, I heard about this. What happened there? You lost a bet.
Yeah, on the terrace. When we were put in the driving seat for a little bit, I thought, you know what? There's no way Arsenal gonna do me over here. No way.
I've never bet on Arsenal, Colleen.
Well, no. I've learnt my lesson, and
It's a harsh lesson.
Came out of a rash all on me after I took that off. Yeah, not a good season for me personally as well.
Was it Patrick you did that bet with, by the way?
Yeah, because he was getting
no.
And I thought, this was just after Conte had a meltdown, and I was like, come on, we got Super Mick, of course, and well, not so bloody super, is he? Because look where I ended up.
Lee, Colleen's talking some sense there. I can't lie, Lee.
Well, I don't know about that. The Tottenham thing. I'm not.
Apart from the Tottenham thing.
Yeah, it was one of those things, But listen, big up for doing it, and that's the good thing is you took your medicine, and a lesson learned there, Colleen. An absolute lesson learned. But yeah, fantastic points there. I have to say, fantastic points, and I do think that that Colleen's right there. Arsenal have got to be challenging for, listen, we've challenged for the top 4 this season, so that means we've got to do that next season and beyond now, isn't it? We haven't challenged for the top 4 since Mikel's been here. We've not challenged. Let's be honest, realistically, we've not challenged. We've now challenged for the top 4. Okay, it's ended in failure, but now what we've got to do is challenge next season with the added thing of European football, which worries me because we challenged this season without European football. We've got European football now, so we've got to do it on two fronts. I still think that, you know, it isn't such a bad thing if we challenge for the Europa League, because there is a chance that we can get into the Champions League via that route. So I don't think it's all doom and gloom for us from that point of view. But we've certainly got to address the squad. And ultimately, I still say this now. It's not, for me, Arsenal Football Club is not about battling for top four. The bigger picture for me is to challenge Liverpool and Manchester City and the Chelseas and whoever else is up there. Like, you know, that is the ultimate goal for me. And I want to see us looking towards that. And I don't feel the Kroenkes or the fan base, if I'll be honest, are really looking at that. Like, if I say I want Arsenal challenging for the title, people laugh at me.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, and go like, oh, you know, you're deluded and all that. Like, I'm not saying that we should be challenging for next season, but there has got to be a time and this process, if you want to call it that at some stage we challenge the top for the title. And if you're not prepared to do that or not going to be doing it, why are they, what's going on here? Because I'm afraid that is the ultimate goal for me.
Yeah, and can I ask you a question, Lee?
Yeah.
How many players do you think sensibly to go in the first team and squad fillers do we need to challenge for top four next season? And if you were going to say to challenge the top two, how many more would you need?
Well, listen. If I'll be really honest, the team at the moment isn't good enough to get top four. Right, so basically, you need 10 new players if you're going to look at it down that route. But that's not the way you're going to go, because I look at it and I think if Smith Rowe's got to get better, will get better. Martinelli will get better. Saka will get better. I think Odegaard will get better. So that's a good thing there.
Can I just say one thing, Lee? I think you're slightly wrong there. I think the first 11 was good enough, but we lost Kieran Tierney, Thomas Partey, and Tomiyasu out of our 11.
I think that it would have been. What I'm saying, though, Rios, he was good enough to get in the top four, not win the league.
No.
You know what I mean? Like, but ultimately, I do think if Thomas Partey and Tierney had stayed fit, then we would have got in the top four. But them two players have not been fit since they signed for the football club on a regular basis. So that's something that the club should have known and sorted out as well. I think we need 7 players minimum, and that's with the inclusion of Saliba coming back. I think we need 7. And then I hope that lessons are learned, that come January, when we're going hopefully for 2 competitions, which will be the Europa League and the League, that they invest with another 3. So I think within the next 6 months, 10 new players have got to come through the door at Arsenal.
So bearing in mind, we've already allegedly got Marquinhos coming. We've already got Turner, is it, the goalkeeper from America? We've already got Trusty the process from America. So that's 3 players coming in. So what we look at?
We win a Super Bowl at this rate, won't we? We win a Super Bowl.
And apparently Hickey. So apparently that deals.
Yeah, so like they're all squad players, aren't they? They're all squad players, you know.
Yeah.
But what I'm saying is, you know, I think we need. Look, we need 2 midfield players to go into the not to just go into the squad, to go into the first team. 2 new. What Arsenal need, I think, is a proper another player to replace Partey or to cover Partey. I'd keep El Neni because the squad's light, but we need another midfield player that's going to run with the ball, that's going to pick the ball up, box the box, and run at players, commit players, go past players. So opening things out. We've not got that in midfield. You have a look at our midfield players, whether you think it's the way it is, pass. You need someone to break through the lines through running past them, not just passing. So we need 2 midfield players. We need at least 2 forwards. 2, you know what I mean? Like at least 2 central down the middle. And we need to replace, I think Pepe will go. So we need another wide player coming in. So there's 5 players. Is that right? Yeah, 5 players that are going to come into the actual first team and improve the first team. Then you need another 2 to play.
It's a massive job, ain't it? It's a massive rebuild.
It's massive. It's massive.
it's not just a top up to make. It's an actual rebuild you're talking about.
But even though it is, Russ, even though it is, because I'm with you, I think this, you might say how many players do we need? We need 8 players if you want to go for top 4, and we probably need a lot more than that, maybe even 12 or more if we want to go for the title against Liverpool and City. But I don't think even with 8 to 12 players that this manager can win us a title. I just don't think he's good enough. So I don't think it matters who we bring in at the moment if we're going to keep hold of this guy. I really don't. And I know people will say that's harsh and it's not fair. We could have 12, 15 players, and I don't think this manager has shown any glimpse of evidence that we can go near to a title. I just disagree with that completely, that we'll be ready for a title with that, Russ.
No, I was just asking the question, what do you think it would need? I think it would probably need about 500 million quid spending on it to get us anywhere near them.
Well, the Kroenkes ain't going to give us that.
Lee Gunner, I mean, I know Lee Gunner quite well. Lee Gunner just said, we've all trusted the process all year. No, I haven't trusted any process at all, Lee. The whole trust the process thing emanates from Stan Kroenke. It don't emanate from Edu and Arteta. It emanates from the spin that comes from the top.
I don't trust the process, but what I do say is I support the team.
Exactly.
There's a difference. I'm with Dan on this. I'm not 100% sure on Arteta is going to be the man, but ultimately, I'm not gonna.
I've seen some things on there about Arsenal fan TV, get out the club, and the toxicity. Here it comes, all the toxicity again. Listen, all of us here go to the games and we give our support 1,000,000% to that club and to those players, no matter how bad they are, how much I don't like them or how much I don't think they're good enough. When they pull that red and white shirt on, I give my all, and I expect them to give their all back. And that if that's trusting the process, then sorry, I'm trusting the process. But once I come out the stadium and I'm with you guys and we're on these platforms, I will tell it how I think it is. And I think it is down to the owner. He has let us down. He's employed the wrong people. He's left them in jobs too long. People say, Arteta should be sacked, get rid of him. Well, it's his ultimate responsibility. He has given the man another extension to his contract, Lee Gunner. So who is to blame? Is it the fans' fault for backing the team in the stadium? Or is it the owner's fault for not listening to the majority of the fans who were like this, not too sure about Arteta? I would have left it to the end of the season and said, right, our goal was. That's the trouble. We don't actually know what the Kroenkes' goals are because they never actually say anything, do they? That's the problem I've got with them. Come out and tell us what you really think instead of spinning. Jesus Christ. That's all they hear is spin. Now they're saying, we're really pleased with the way the fans have got behind the team this year. It's not through you, though, is it? It's not through anything you've done. It's just because we are so desperate for success. We will do anything in that stadium to drive that team forward, to get them as high as they can, to realise our ambitions. Show us some ambition, Stanley and Josh. Show it to us. If you don't show it to us this summer, you are in for a really rocky ride in the future.
Clip that and send that to LA, mate.
Yeah, you can't argue that. You can't argue that, Russ. That's quality.
You know it. Lee Gunner doesn't go to the games, though, does he? To be fair, in defence to Lee, he used to go to every home and away game, so I don't buy that.
Listen, it doesn't matter if you go to games. There's only a privileged few that can go to games. Listen, if you don't go to games, it doesn't mean to say you're not as passionate about it as Arsenal as you do if someone goes to games. It really gets my goat, that does, because not everybody's in the position. I'm fortunate enough to be able to go to games, you know what I mean? But that doesn't mean to say, look, my dad didn't go to games towards the end of his life, right? But I can tell you that now, he was as passionate as I was, and I went to games. So, like, don't ever come back with people turn around and say, because you don't go to games.
I have a fellow who's a customer of mine. He comes and knocks on my door, right? Because he doesn't get to the shop where I work. And he comes to the door. He's in absolute bits. He was in absolute bits after the Tottenham game. He hasn't been to a game for donkey's years, and he's absolutely heartbroken. So I fully get that. But don't take it out on us, on our people in the chat who say we're toxic or get out of our club, Arsenal Fan TV. Arsenal Fan TV ain't the reason why this club's not doing well. This platform's not the reason why this club's not doing well. It's those arseholes who run this football club's fault. They've been in charge for 13 years. to varying degrees. They've been on the board. They've had full control since 2013. They are in charge of recruiting the people to do the football jobs, because I liken them to restaurant owners who've never seen a pork chop or a can of baked beans before, and they've bought a restaurant, and they don't know how to cook, they don't know how to light the cooker, they don't know how to open the front door, they don't know how to use the cash register, they don't know absolutely jack shit about football, and yet we're supposed to trust them. That's why, Lee Gunner, I don't trust the process, because I don't trust the clowns at the top. The head is rotten. You've got to cut it off and start again.
To be fair, I don't think Lee was actually pointing at fans like yourself, Russ, but I think you've summed up that you don't trust the process.
I don't take it personally. I see what he's saying, that all the fans who go to the games and all the people on social media, etc., are backing the process. Well, that's just not true. It's just not true.
Listen, if they want to back the process, let them back the process. What is the what? You know, what I mean, what is so wrong for fans to back the process and back the club? You know what I mean? Like, I know a lot of fans that won't hear anything wrong about Arsenal, whatever they, you know, if they lose, it's somebody else's fault. You know what I mean? I don't see the problem with that, and I don't see the problem if you want to criticise a team as well or the club. What you're a supporter. You pay your money, and listen, whether you go to games or not, you pay your money, because if you're watching the TV, you're paying Sky, which is paying the club, etc. So don't get away with it. You have got the right to support that team,
the club how you want.
You want. No one can tell me how right or wrong to support the club, and that's it. You know what I mean? And I would never tell anybody else how they should support the team or not. And I'm sorry about 100%. That.
As I said before, Lee, if you think 13 losses in a season is the improvement on 13 losses in the previous season, you've got something wrong with you. It ain't an improvement at all.
No.
It's the same. It's the same. It's only the fact that Man United and other teams haven't got as many points as what we thought they would do, that we're a little bit higher than what we thought we should be.
Listen, I'm not happy with the way the season went and all that. And if people have turned around to me, Russ, and I'm sure they've turned around, you should be happy with it. Well, no, I shouldn't. I don't, because at the end of the day, I'm not. No one tells me how to be, if I'm happy or not. Do you know what? Like, I get up in the morning. Am I happy or I'm not? Oh, you know what I mean? And that's how it goes there. Like, anyway, people are wanting to hear Colleen. They don't want to hear us no more, Russ. I want to hear Colleen. Go for it.
I think Russ has summed it up. I don't trust the process. I mean, what process am I trusting? When the process first started, we were meant to be back in the Champions League this season coming in next. When they first originally started with Arteta, that's what they said. That was Arteta's target. And just in the same way where you're getting these kind of intra-fighting within the fan base, well, not fighting, but disagreements, where some people are saying, you know, we would have taken it at the beginning of the season, where some people are like, well, the context has changed. We should have got it because of the position we're in. And you've got the club coming out now saying, well, do you know what? The same kind of thing. We kind of overachieved for this season. So they've kind of changed their own goals themselves. And we're going to end up turning to United. They've been in a process for about 9 years to get back to where they were under Ferguson. And I don't want that. And
no, you're right.
I think modern Arsenal, as in like 21st century Arsenal, had a habit of, or the ownership rather, has had a habit of hanging on to coaches or managers a tad too long. Just that we hanged on to Emery a bit too long. And I love Arsene Wenger. I think we hanged on to him a bit too long towards the end. Are we seeing this again with Arteta?
Great point.
I think he's a good coach, but we don't have time to be like going in a 10-year process. This process feels like it's never ending. And I know projects and processes are not linear, but if we're not careful, we're going to go from the third biggest club in England and start slipping down in terms of trophy counts very quickly. I mean, City normally rack up 3 to 4 each season. This year was the anomaly for them by just getting one. And it's a bitter pill to swallow. And I'm just not confident that they're going to turn it around quick enough and consistently enough. They've got if we had got top 4 this season, I probably would have been like, do you know what? Fair enough. 8th, 4th. Let's see where they go now. Let's see. But as we've just missed it, I think question marks have to be raised around this
100%.
process.
Well said.
And
Well
they've
said.
not
100%.
helped themselves around giving him the contract. Obviously, it's difficult because, you know, whenever you give it to him, if they were always going to give it to him, it's going to be very difficult when you do it because there's always someone who's going to have a gripe with it. But now, it doesn't look too good.
It doesn't indeed.
Couldn't agree more.
Before we
Couldn't
bring
agree
on our last three guests, I want to bring this chat up because it's absolute class from Craze. The fans say be happy. Josh says be excited. Arteta says be on time. That is absolute class, Craze. I love that, man. Absolutely love that. Also, I absolutely love Russ and Colleen. Russ, start with you, man. Thanks so much, not just for tonight, mate, and raising great points as you always do, but for your support for the channel the whole season, man. You've been a legend. You've come on loads of fan cams. You've done loads of your own stuff for us, content-wise. You've jumped on at every opportunity, man. And, of course, you've been great tonight again, man. So thank you, bro.
Thank you. And I always sing up loud and proud at the stadium, as you know. Loud and proud. Gooner through and through. Cut me in half.
100%.
It says Arsenal through me.
And if you do stand next to Russ, bring your earmuffs, all right?
Yeah. I'm loud.
He is loud indeed. Russ, you're a legend, mate. Thank you so much, bro.
Lovely meeting
Take
you,
care.
Colleen.
Lovely meeting you. And thanks, Dan, for bringing me on once the season's ended and it's all misery. Thank you for that.
I know. I'm
Sorry
sorry,
about that.
Colleen. I'm so sorry, but I do want to say a huge thank you for coming on because I know it was a bit last minute
Great
today
debut.
and I
Great
want to
debut.
mess you up. Really good debut.
Patrick Vieira
and
debut, that was.
Patrick Vieira debut. But
like
thanks
we-
so much. We'd love to get you on again at some point throughout the season. So thanks so much for coming on, Colleen.
No worries. Take care, boys.
Yes, Colleen. Thank you.
See you later. Take care. Right, let's get these guys on,
Right,
shall we?
brilliant,
Lastly,
them two. No, that was a good double act, them two.
that was a really good double app. Cause, how you doing, bro? You good, Corey?
Yeah, man, all good, man. How you guys doing?
Yeah, we're all good, man. It's good to see you, man. Let me bring the other two guys on as well. Albert JTV. Albert, what you saying, bro?
Yes, people, good to see you, man. Good to be back on the channel, man.
Yeah, good to have you back on as well, man. And of course, we've
Back
got
on, he
Daniel
was on
Bailey.
Sunday.
How we doing?
What's going on, Dan? What's going on, guys?
All good, man.
How
All
we doing,
good.
Daniel? You all right?
Let's
You all right, Lee?
let's
good,
get
I'm good.
some opinions, shall we? I'm going to let Lee have a couple of questions in a minute for you guys. I want to start with Corey first, man, because I speak to Corey quite a lot on voice notes, man. We've known each other for about 12 years now, man, and we've never really understood the process and never really got this manager. But I wanted to see where you're at now that the dust has settled a little bit, so to speak, mate. So, what's your thoughts, Cos?
With this manager, well, it's been 3 seasons now, and we're kind of back where we were when Emery was in charge. I think even less then, because when we finished 5th with Emery, we was in the Europa League, and we got to the final of that as well. So I think me and you, Dan, we spoke a lot about sometimes thinking that being out of the Europa League would benefit Arsenal because less games, you know, we got more time to concentrate on the league, and you know, we thought that would benefit us a lot, especially when there would be some investment in the team. So at the start of this season, it's like, okay, it's been backed, a lot of money's been spent, you know, the team is shaping up under what Arteta wants. So let's go. And, you know, at the start of the season, we did have players like Aubameyang and, you know, whatnot. And we had much more of a fuller squad. So it was looking all right. And then we get to the end, you know, half of the squad's gone, including our main striker, you know, and we finished 5th, so close to being 4th. I mean, the title of the show is Successful Failure. That's a failure to me.
100%, man. And just before I move on to the other guys and let Lee have a couple of questions, I honestly think you talk facts whenever you talk to me about your kind of question marks over this man management stuff. And me and you said, didn't we, in January about this Aubameyang thing that it left a bit of a bad taste in our mouth. But I wanted to put it to you, because a lot of people were saying to me how well the players are doing that have actually left. Now, normally when players leave Arsenal, they don't really go on to do much over the years. But when I look at the ones that have actually left, somebody sent me a text the other day. Emi Martinez has gone on to have quite a good career at Aston Villa. Bellerin's even won the bloody equivalent of the FA Cup over in Spain. Maitland-Niles has got himself to Europa League Conference Final, as has Reece Nelson. Aubameyang is absolutely smashing it. And Guendouzi and Saliba have got himself in the France side and Young Player of the Year for Saliba. So is there some kind of truth to that, you know, they've gone away from this manager and progressed their careers, so to speak?
Yeah, it's clear, it's evident. You know, people talk about Guendouzi like he's unmanageable. You know, I was like, look at what he's doing. Like, is it George Sampoli at Marseille that coaches him? I've not heard any reports. I'm not seeing any headlines that Guendouzi's causing any problems there. You know, so he's not unmanageable. He's actually done really well there. And like you said, he's got a France call up and whatnot. So, and then when you look at all the other players that have fallen out with a manager, you have to ask who's the common denominator here, because as Arsenal fans, we've never known a manager to fall out with as many players in such a short space of time than what's happened with Mikel Arteta. And I do get Jose Mourinho vibes from Mikel Arteta. You know, that sort of, it's my way or the highway, and he's got a bit of a attitude himself, and you know, the whole non-negotiables and whatnot. And some, you know, when you're in charge of a squad of 20-something young men, you're going to have different types of personalities. Part of the job is dealing with those different types of personalities. You know, some people are going to be a bit more unreliable than others. Some people are going to have a bit more of an ego than others, and you have to be able to navigate. That's a big part of the job, to navigate around the squad and make sure that you're getting the best out of those players. You don't just give up on them and then get rid of them and then give yourself a pat on the back because you've got the wage bill lowered. That's not how football management works. And when we think about Arsene Wenger, that's one of the things we credit him with, you know, that he, you know, when I read his book, he talked about how it's difficult to manage Van Persie and all the other different characters. And, you know, especially when you think about, like, you know, our old back four with Keown and Adams and guys like that, they had big personalities, big characters, had big issues outside of football. But when it came to performing on the pitch, they brought 100% every time. And that was a big part of being at Arsenal club and the manager that you played for. So you can't just say, well, okay, well, it's the player's fault. And if they can't get with his non-negotiables, then they got to go. He'll never get anywhere as a manager if he carries on like that.
Listen, I think you talk facts, mate. I can't lie. Like, me and you are on the same wavelength. We really are. And it's a great point about the Guendouzi thing, because I haven't heard any reports about him or Saliba being unmanageable and being poor. If they were, they wouldn't be in the front side. So I think that it was purely something that Arteta and Guendouzi disagreed on. We will never know what it was. It was nothing to do with him having a fight with Mopé. It's absolute nonsense. There was more to it than that. Something's happened there. Just like Aubameyang, we have no idea what happened with Arteta and Aubameyang. Loads of rumours. That's all it is. So when you look at it, I think you bring up some good facts. Lee, I want to bring you in on that, mate.
Yeah, first things first, just want to say that Peter the Pole's in life. If you don't really know in the chat, Peter the Pole, he is the actual DJ. He is the actual DJ at Arsenal, like, you know, so he's in there. So hello, Peter. He does all the music at the Emirates. Top guy. He's in the chat. So first and foremost, listen, Corey makes some Rory. I was going to say Rory there. Corey makes some very, very good points there. And I tell you what, I do agree with a lot of what they're saying. But let's get the facts right. Most managers will fall out with players. There's always falling out of players. It's just the way that it is. If you're managing 26 players, you can only put in 11, and there's going to be problems, you know. And it just depends how you handle them. I am going to be honest. I don't think that Mikel has handled them particularly well. Why has he not handled them particularly well? Because he hasn't got the experience. I think that that's something to do with that. You know, you learn how to deal with players, and that's why I think that you go away to another club first and make those mistakes, and you come back and do it all that. You know, look at David Moyes, how he's invented himself again. You know, because he's experienced enough to be able to deal with it and come back and do it. Why has Guendouzi done well in France? Maybe it's a little bit weaker league. I don't know. I'm a big fan of Guendouzi, by the way. I thought he was a really, really good player. But ultimately, is he better than what we've got? Yeah, I think that he is. I think that he would have been in this team at the moment. You know, I do believe that. And Corey makes a very, very good point there. Do you think Eric Cantona was easy to manage? No, you know what I mean. Like, you have a look at a lot of the real top players. Do you think Maradona was easy to manage? Do you think that you can go on it? Do you think Roy Keane was easy to manage? Do you think that Patrick Vieira was easy to manage? You know, I don't think that they were. But you have to let certain things go and all that. Like, you know, George Graham had problems with Paul Merson. You know, quality player. But he knew how to manage them. Like, you know, so I do think there is something in there. Like, you know. that what we're saying there. But ultimately, guys, we can criticise the manager as much as we want. He's here to stay, and that's my question to you all. Like, it's going to be my question now: is what is success and failure for next season? That is my. What do we all think that's going to happen next season? Who wants to go first? Go on, Albert. You go. Go on. You can go. I'll chuck it in, Albert. I'm chucking you into the deep end.
God, what's it? Well, first one, I got to say the chat's been lively, man. God, I've been sitting back getting a popcorn. I was thinking, flip it now. But Gaffer, success or failure? It's a tough one because if you'd asked him this question, the season just gone, obviously just finished on Sunday, I'd have said get back into the top 4. Because obviously we had no European football, which was a massive, massive factor, by the way. But sort of fast forwarding, going into the impending season coming up, I'm concerned, Lee, man. I'll be honest with you. The immediate answer to the question is I don't know, man. I'm concerned. We're back in Europe, which is, is a good thing, I guess. But the way the season's curtailed at the end at a very crunch point, you could even feel it at the game. I don't know how you guys felt, whoever went to the game on Sunday. The after effects and the lingering of the Newcastle defeat was still there. Even with the victory against Everton, it was clear to see it was there. So, Lee, answer the answer to that really is I'm not sure. I'm concerned going into next season. Everybody's going to strengthen. Are we going to get the right profile of player in? People talk about in terms of how many players is it going to take? How many players do we need? Shall I say? I would personally think, if I'm being honest, I'd say probably minimum 4, and that's just in the summer, because then you've got January to think of. You bring in a couple, depending on how the season goes. If irrespective of how we're doing, sort of December, January, but it's a tough question to answer, Lee, to be honest. I generally don't know, and I'm just fearful going into this season.
Daniel, what do you think?
Yeah, I actually think next season it's Champions League is a must. That has to be a guarantee, and then a trophy like FA Cup. But the important thing is Champions League. I mean, look, we had it in our grasp. We actually had a 4-point lead over Tottenham, and we bottled it. Absolutely bottled it. There's no other way of looking at it. So next season has to be Champions League and a trophy, and we need to start getting some standards back at this football club, because they've been missing, not just on the pitch, but with sections of this fan base as well. I've got to be honest.
Yeah, I'm with you. You are being honest.
Yeah, I think you are being honest.
No, I've got to be honest. No, because I've got to be honest. Because do you know the thing is, right? We hear all these bloody excuses, and I tell you what, the amount of excuses that come out, it's ridiculous, absolutely ridiculous. And everyone's all excited because we go and smash Everton 5-1. Where was that on Monday against Newcastle? Where was that? I'm still fuming now over it, and it's well over a week. Not only did we miss out on Champions League football, we fucking bottled it to Spurs. We handed it to that lot down the road. We didn't just nearly have it by 1 or 2 points. We nearly had it by 4 points. We were better than Tottenham. The only reason they got Champions League football is because we rolled over and just said, there you go, have it, because we bottled it. We didn't have the minerals to see it through. And that is the second time since Arteta's been manager that this has happened. Remember last season where we bottled the Europa League semi-final against Villarreal? We had an easy route to the final then. Now, I'm not saying we could have gone and beaten Man United in the final, but we had an easy route to the final, and we bottled it. Now, we
struggled all the way through that Europa League. There were times, I think, was it Benfica, we was lucky to start. We struggled our way through that.
But we had an opportunity. Do you know what worries me with Arteta? Is that when he's got a single objective, he can never achieve it. When he's got a single objective, when he's focused on one thing, last season being the Europa League, because when our league form went to shit, that's what he was focusing on, and he totally bottled it. Now this season, we're out of pretty much every competition by January, He only had top 4 to focus on, and yet he bottled it, absolutely bottled it. So everybody, raise your standards, because it's disgusting, the excuses. And when people say, oh, well, we never expected to even get near 5th at the start of the season, I have one thing to say to that. When Leicester won the league, do you think they was expecting it at the start of the season? But no, through the course of the season, their expectations change, as did with this top 4 pursuit. So that doesn't really wash with me when, oh, well, we got more than what we expected. And I've seen other people saying, oh, well, if we sack Arteta, then we're just ending up into a revolving door policy when it comes to managers. Look, we don't have to go down the Watford route of sacking managers every week, but I just think there has to be some standards. We're Arsenal Football Club. This cannot be acceptable. People are celebrating 5th place like we won a trophy. It is laughable and it is disgusting and it is unacceptable. Absolutely unacceptable. We're Arsenal Football Club and you're celebrating finishing 5th place. Not only are you celebrating finishing 5th place, you're celebrating bottling the top 4 to our North London rivals. Do you think that lot down the road deserve it? No, they absolutely don't deserve it. They don't deserve anything. Their fans are thuggish. They don't deserve anything. And everyone's celebrating because we finished in the Europa League. It's an absolute disgrace.
I'll tell you what, Daniel, some fantastic points there. Some fantastic
brilliant.
points.
I love it.
And I'll tell you something else.
Honestly, I'm so angry. No, honestly, I'm so angry.
You're right. It's spot on, bruv.
I've seen all this bollocks on Twitter for the last week or so, and I'm just sat there going, where's the standards at this football club? Where is the absolute standard?
Facts.
You know,
it's facts. And I'll tell you something else.
Finish it.
Great point.
Do you know the thing? Do you know the thing is, Lee? Do you know the thing is, right? Bottling the top 4 is one thing, but losing out to Tottenham, that should be a sackable offence in itself. We're Arsenal Football Club. Has everyone forgotten about the rivalry with Spurs? That's what's angered me the most, is that we give it to that lot down the road. Absolutely. And everybody's just laughing like we won a trophy.
It's some fantastic points there. And I'll say another point. We lost our first 3 games in the season. Do you know Man United, when they won the Premier League in its first season, do you know how many games they lost in their first 3 games?
Well,
3. 3.
Was it?
Where were they? Bottom of the league, and they went on to win the league. So all this thing about being 3 games in and all that, like, you know what I mean, is ridiculous. You know, and that's a great point you make about Leicester. You know, Leicester's ambitions changed during the season, and they didn't. I'll tell you what, give them all credit. When they come to us on that famous Valentine's Day and we beat them, they never lost another game after that.
Mm.
You know, and only lost, I think they only lost 3 games all season, like, you know, so they didn't turn around and go, oh, well, we don't expect it and everything like that. Some fantastic points made there, absolutely fantastic points. So
I thought that was spot on, Daniel. And to be honest with you, mate, the chat is absolutely 100% in agreement with you, mate. I want to bring this comment in. It is disgusting, mate. I just want to bring this comment in really quick and answer it. It's not going to take me long because Danny Reid has actually answered his own question. He says, Dan Potts, do you honestly believe that Arsenal are the 3rd biggest club in England? Chelsea are far more successful, won European titles. Successful and big are different things, Danny. Yeah, Arsenal are the biggest club in England behind Liverpool and Manchester United. They're not the most successful club at the moment. Chelsea are definitely more successful, as are Manchester City, as are Liverpool. When you look at the reputation and history of the club and why we moved to the Emirates Stadium, it was to compete with the very, very best. At the moment, we can't compete with our North London rivals. So it is not working. So that answers that.
Do you know what I worry about?
Oh, go on, Dan. Go on, Dan.
Sorry, I just want to say this.
No,
do you know what I absolutely worry? And this is a massive worry for me, is that we wasted the last 2 years on this manager. What happens? Because the inevitable is going to happen. We're going to get to next season and we're going to get halfway through next season. We're going to be out of every competition and we're going to end up sacking him. And then a whole new bloody process starts again because we're going to get a new manager in and he's got a team that Arteta's built. He's not necessarily going to want that team. And then the whole bloody thing starts again. How many more times are we going to go around on this merry-go-round of a process? You know, there's got to be a point where we just say enough's enough.
Love it. Love it, Daniel. I think it's great, and this is how I want to end this tonight because we've got to wrap up soon. But I want to get all your opinions on this, including Lee's. We go into next season. Let's forget this one that's just done. We've spoken about it enough. We know where it went wrong. We go into next season, and I feel personally like he's going to be safe, whatever, because I don't think the Kroenkes want this guy gone, right? But let's set ourselves a target, right? I'll start with Albert, and then we'll go round. If Arteta was to have to be sacked, what sort of a start do you give Mikel Arteta in terms of games lost or just the start of his kind of first few months, few games? Where's your head at in terms of actually we need to look at somebody else now? Or do you think, Albert, he's just going to get another season, another transfer window, another January, another Christmas? Where do you stand on it, Albert? Because for me, dude, we have to get Champions League football next season, or at least compete for the title for me to be happy. I'm really not feeling this manager.
I think if it gets to a point where I would say probably the tipping point, depending where the season goes, is probably around December, January time, depending where we are. It's going to be tough because it depends how we start the season. But I think if we're languishing sort of top 6, top 8 come December, January, then that conversation has to be had. But I think the problem you got, Dan, is the way we operate as a club and the sort of the time that's been afforded to Mikel Arteta. And it almost still seems to be a case of no matter what he does, like I said, I think the only way he probably get removed quicker than anybody might think is if he's in the bottom 3. But that's not going to happen. So it's mad. How can you have a situation at a football club where, as Daniel mentions about standards and being in a position or in a club where we're struggling, but nothing happens to the manager? I don't understand that. And this season is going to be even more difficult because obviously we're back in Europe. We've got more games to contend with. Quickly before I finish, Dan, like I mentioned the point, right? When we played West Ham away this season, West Ham at that point they played 11 games more than us. That's more than 3 months worth of football. If the set of circumstances that were afforded to us this season, and we can't get top 4, finishing 11 points at the Manchester United, that's not going to happen next season. So come December, January, I think might be a tipping point. If it goes the way I think it might go, because I'm not too confident going in. But like I said, we don't know in terms of the players that are going to come in, so we'll see.
Fair play, Albert. Listen, people are saying, "Oh, we're never competing for a title next season." Well, if we go and spend what we're supposed to be spending, it's close to £1 billion. So you've got to have some success at some stage when you're spending that much money. Give that to Antonio Conte. We would be. I tell you what. I said this before I come to Daniel and Corey on the same question. Honestly, I'm worried about Spurs with Conte, and I'm not worried that they're going to win the league, but they are going to finish above us again. They are going to finish third, in my opinion. The way I'm seeing it, the summer they have with Liverpool and City, they might not be able to catch them. But this manager is doing bits with Ben Davies and Chicken Royale. What can he do with 2 fullbacks, with a couple of defenders and a midfielder, with at front 3? Could be scary. Corey, let's come to you first on that question in relation to Arteta. I know you'd probably sack him anyway, but where do you see his kind of season going next season, bro?
Well, just when you question me, he said, what would he have to do to get sacked? I don't know, because for me, Arteta represents what the Kroenkes have been trying to do, which is lower expectations of them and the club and what we can expect as fans, because they don't want us to be constantly moaning and whinging and on them about not winning the league and not achieving what we think we should. They actually they want an easy life, so they don't want to pump all their money into the club. They they want to keep expectations low, and I think Arteta sort of represents that, because him being a novice manager, needing time to develop himself, needing time to grow. So with that, you have to come to expect the ups and the downs and the learning process that he's having to go through, and us fans having to suffer through it. So it would have to be really bad, I think. And I think in terms of what achieving next season, I would want us to win the Europa League. I think I look at the Europa League the season just this season, and who won it? Eintracht Frankfurt and Glasgow Rangers were in the final. The big teams that drop down from the Champions League don't really tend to take it that seriously. We've got to the final before. I would really think that we could win that, but the club has to, the players and the manager have to grow some balls, and not let the occasions get to them. Because when we do get knocked out of competitions and when we do fail in the big games, we do it with a whimper. It's never a 3-2. It's never like the other team that's got a last minute goal. It's like we get beat 3-0, 2-0. It's pretty straightforward for the other side. So we really have to get over that. And if we can, then top 4 and Europa League win, I will be happy with that.
Fair play. Daniel, what about yourself, mate?
First and foremost, Arteta ain't going nowhere. Let me tell you, I've been in meetings with with Kroenke's, or rather Josh Kroenke, and let me tell you, Arteta's his favourite love child. He ain't going absolutely nowhere. He loves him so much, it's unreal. It's actually embarrassing. But me personally, my head's gone, mate. I would have sacked him. About 3 weeks ago when we were still in the running for the top 4 because we had something to play for. But as typical with this club and with this ownership, we always do things far too late, and that's what's going to happen again next season. We're going to do it far too late, and then there's going to be an even bigger rebuild than before. So yeah, me personally, my head's gone. I would have sacked him. He wouldn't even be here. But if for argument's sake, I'm having to say anything, then he's got to. Like I said, if we lose the first 3 games next season, then a conversation's got to be had, because they've been bigging this up all season. From the January transfer window, all we've been hearing is, "Oh, we don't like January transfer windows. We like summer. We've got all our plans in place for the summer." So if they put their money where their mouth is and we still lose the first 3 games, then I'm sorry, a conversation's got to be had.
Yeah, I'm kind of with you. I want to wrap this up, judges, with yourself having the last word, man. Same 2 questions, mate. Where you see in terms of Arteta and the sack, and also what would keep him his job for success? What would success look like for you, mate?
Success the straight away now is I agree with Corey. Europa League or Champions League. For me, Europa League is our easiest way to get to Champions League, and that is to win that. But I do see, if we're struggling in the Europa League and we're nowhere near challenging for top 4 come the World Cup, I expect Arsenal to make a change. Because that's what good clubs do. Yeah. Nuno, Tottenham, after 10, 12 games, there was no way Tottenham were going to get to the Champions League, cut their losses. I expect Arsenal to be as ruthless as that next season. And I'll tell you what I do fear for Mikel Arteta, and this is where I do feel it's a little bit like the Emery situation, where I think that Emery completely messed up the Champions League top 4 with a stupid performance, stupid team selection against Crystal Palace. Ended up blowing the Champions League, and then the disgusting performance against Chelsea in Europa League had a lot of fans in doubt. He could never turn it around from there. Lost a lot of fans that day. A couple of bad results, and Boshi was gone. Lost it. I think a couple of bad results, and I think fans will turn on Mikel Arteta, because you cannot keep. There comes a time when the excuses run out. There's no more excuses now. This is the last transfer window that he is going to get, because the excuse at the moment is, he's not had his own forwards. And I'll give him that. I'll give him that little due, that since he's been at the football club, not one attacking player has been signed by Mikel Arteta. If you look at all that front line, not one of them has been signed by Mikel Arteta. So he brings in his guns now, his ammunition. No excuses left.
Yeah, that's a great point as well, because he hasn't managed to get any of our strikers firing. So let's see what he does now. I'm going to do some super chats to end. Before I do that, I want you to rate the season for us. We'll go around. I gave it a 5 out of 10 with Robbie. Turkish gave it a 4 out of 10 earlier. Daniel, what would you rate the season out of 10, mate?
I'll give it a 3 out of 10. 3 out of 10. And
Okay.
that's pushing it. You know what I mean? Because of what the way it ended and who we handed fourth place to.
Fair enough. Albert?
I'll give it a 6. That's only just because they got back into Europe. Missed opportunity, man. 4 points at 3 games to go. That you can't. It's hard to tell fans to be positive after the Everton game. I saw a lot of people doing that. I'm like, well, that's a bit hard. That's a bit hard to say that. I mean, we have the objective was to get back in Europe, but let's be honest, we should be in top 4. Blew it.
Yeah, 100%.
Pressure
Has got to them yet again. We're
Yep.
getting 7, 8s, and 9s in some of this chat room. It's unbelievable. Corey, what are you going for?
Yeah, same as Albert. I think 6. I think a couple more points, and I would have given it an 8. Considering where we are. So to sort of lose out on that position, let Tottenham finish above us. That hurt, but ultimately it could have been worse because it has been worse recently. So 6 is about right for me.
Judges?
5 for me. 13 defeats, getting knocked out of the FA Cup by a team in a lower division. I think that's something funny enough. That's been brushed under the carpet.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, if I'll be honest, you get knocked out by a team in a lower league, seem to be accepted. Not in my eyes. I don't forget that, and also, for the first time in the season, been humiliated by Spurs.
Yeah, mate, we really were. Embarrassing ending. Let's get through these super chats quick. Graham says, I'm sorry, but 5th is a failure. Those turkeys finished 4th. It hurts. Tristan says, I'm sick and tired of these excuses about the team being young. It was our decision to have this. Spurs has the same average age in 2016 with hardly a penny spent, and they were in a title race. What a great point that is. Spurs are in a very come on you Spurs 2000 has donated. Thank you very much for that, mate. He said Spurs are in a very strong financial position as we were when we were building the stadium. Our net spend was 0. The American person is wrong. And also we have Lee, Man United is not a good comparison. Arsenal missed the Champions League 6 consecutive years, while United made the top 4 3 times in the last 6 seasons. And that is, to be fair, the difference is that Man United have had, Mourinho, who got on the Europa League win and the top 4. So I think that's why. That's it.
Can't buy one of those Man United yo-yos. Keep going up and down.
That is a very good point as well. United have never spent 2 years without Champions League football. Their worst finishes have been 7th once and 6th twice, and they finished top 4 the next season each time. And I think that's what they're trying to say, is that we've been out of the Champions League for so
listen,
long.
I don't care what anybody says about. Let's just talk quickly about that, about Man United. It's the worst Man United team I've seen for a very, very long while. I don't care about last season, the season before that. They have been an embarrassment to Man United Football Club. Right, and they are in the lowest of the ebb that they could ever fall at this moment in time, Man United. Right, let's see what happens in the summer to pull their coattails up, because there's been nothing short of disgrace what's happened to them this season.
They're awful.
100%.
Absolutely
they are
awful.
Properly a banter FC this year. Wenger gave Liverpool and Klopp a comeback to Champions League in 17, which spurred them on, and Arteta just did the same with Spurs and Conte. Let's see what happens next season with them. Tristan has said, what are your thoughts on Spurs' announcement today? It looks like they're going all out to back Conte. I'm actually quite worried. I've already mentioned that I'm quite worried, and it looks like they are going to give him the war chest, and it could be interesting to see what he does, because if he has one window and gets him into the top 4 when our manager's had 5 and can't get him in the top 4, what is Conte going to do? It is very worrying.
Do you know the one thing I will say on that about the Spurs thing? I actually do think that and they're in a very difficult position, because Conte's pretty much already said for them that if Daniel Levy doesn't back him, then he's gonna then he's going to walk. And I do actually think Tottenham are in a precarious position because I do think that they need Conte more than Conte needs them.
That's a great
And I
point.
wouldn't be surprised to see if the slightest little thing next season, I wouldn't be surprised to see if it doesn't go his way, he'll walk.
Yeah, listen, I think we're all praying that, Daniel, to be honest. Cliff has said 5-1 victory, and all I felt was apathy because of all the Shite Hart Lane muckers all calling us bottlers. Deservedly, and giving it the large one. I couldn't agree more. It is very, very difficult and horrible to be a part of. We've got 40 sides saying getting into the Europa is not necessarily a good thing, and it can set us further back. Look at West Ham this season. I'm worried. I think this could end up doing more harm than good unless we go big in the transfer market. It's actually a really
Lessons
good point.
learned from West Ham, by the way, Dan, because they didn't strengthen or didn't go in with a bigger, didn't go in
Great
with a squad.
point.
So Arsenal got to learn from that, because I'll tell you what, West Ham made a mistake there by not strengthening the squad in the summer to challenge for both, and they certainly didn't do it in January, and it cost them realistically. West Ham, I know a few West Ham fans kicking themselves because they should have won the Europa League, should have won it.
100% they should have. We've got a couple here from the boss who said that, hi all, I respect elders like Kenny Kem, but are they not realising there's 4 great teams ahead of us? No manager will help. Money talks. He's also said, honestly, how do you beat Man City and their money? Well, with Haaland coming in, I think it's their title wrapped up already. And I'm sorry, Liverpool. I do feel a little bit sorry, and much as I don't like you, for getting over 90 points 3 times and not winning the league when Ferguson won it with much less points. But there we go. This is the way that we're at the moment. Last couple here. How many Champions League spots have to be missed in favour of this process? Is trusting the young guns the new we moved to a new stadium narrative? That's a great point. Absolutely great point made there.
The answer to that is no more.
Good point. Good point. And I agree with that 100%. Last one is from
No more
Nathan.
excuses.
Cheers, Nathan. Yeah, no more excuses indeed. Nathan said if the club and fan base had standards, then Arteta never would have got the job, let alone still be in a job 2.5 years later. If this was Emery, he'd be getting pelters. Facts.
Great
Absolute
point.
facts
That is
again,
a brilliant
Nathan.
point.
Absolutely
No,
is.
it's talking about Liverpool. Just quickly, Dan, right? You know what I mean?
Yeah, go for it, mate.
And just say, like, they lost less games than Man City this season. They only lost 2 games this season.
Well, Klopp's just got manager of the year as well, by the way.
He did,
Yeah, 2 games they lost. But ultimately, Man City won 1 game more, and that's what matters. But it just shows you, like, you know, that you know, to lose 2 games and not win the league, that's hard to take, isn't it?
No, it really is indeed. Before we do wrap up, I just want to plug my new channel, which is coming in a couple of weeks' time, if I may. I'm trying to get to 1,000, and I'm nearly there, which I'm overwhelmed by, if I'm honest. It's only I literally put it up on Saturday night, and over the weekend I got absolutely loads of love. So thank you all so much for that, and thank you everybody who subscribed and who has followed already. If you haven't done so, it's the Football's 12th Man podcast on YouTube. It's going to be coming in a couple of weeks' time when I'm back from my holidays. We're going to be covering all content, all Premier League teams, and I've got an influencer from each team joining me. So there's going to be a lot of content coming your way for pre-season and a lot of content in the summer. And then, of course, we'll head over into the new season with some different ideas and different shows. I'm not leaving Lead Judges TV. I'm not leaving AFTV like everybody seems to think I am. I am purely running my own channel alongside this one. So that is that. Guys, thank you all so much. Corey, always a real one, man. Thanks so much for jumping on and for your patience. Much appreciated, man. Go and follow Corey at Corey_Loren11. And thank you so much for coming on, Cause.
No worries, man. Anytime.
Top man, bro.
Cheers,
Albert.
Corey.
Nice one,
Thanks,
Corey.
mate.
Albert JTV. Bro, get yourself over to Albert JTV, man. How's the channel going, bro?
It's going well, man. 50 subs away from 1K, I think. That's the last time I checked. So
Well, let's get that to 1,000 as well then. Come on, guys.
Come on
Get
in.
it
Both of me and Albert up to 1,000 after this stream. Come on. There's 970 in the chat. Come on, man. All it is a button. It's free. Just hit subscribe. It's done. Simple. Albert JTV, Football's 12th Man podcast. Love for the love, people. Come on.
thank you, man.
Albert, thank you for coming on, bruv. And thank you again, man, for all your... Listen, you've been an absolute ledge, Ali Lee, the whole of this,
all
this
the
channel.
time coming on after games as well. Like, appreciate it. Like, you know what I mean? So, and Daniel, of course, as well. Like, you know, so big up to everybody.
Daniel, what's going on with your channel, bro? Come on.
Yeah, my channel's doing well. I'm trying to get to that elusive 5K.
Go on, Dan.
Come on,
So
Daniel.
yeah,
Come on.
please do. Come on,
Get
everybody in
over
the
the
chat,
5K as
please
well. Come on.
go
I have
and
subscribed, by the way,
subscribe. Come
Daniel.
on. I need to get to 5K because I've got some big things. I always set myself a target at the start of the season,
Good.
and I said if I can get to 5K, and I'm not even at 3,000 yet, so I've got to get to 5K is the next big target. But yeah, I've got some great stuff coming up as well with some guests. So yeah, please do go over and check it out. Would really appreciate it. And
There you go, people.
obviously,
Dan,
big up to you guys as well. I've always supported Lee Judges TV. Always been a big fan of what you do over here. So credit to you guys for bringing some great content.
Yeah,
bless
cheers,
you, mate.
man. You appreciate that, mate.
no, we do appreciate
Checks
it.
in the post. Don't worry, like
Yeah, man.
What's that,
Thank you,
sir?
mate.
Yeah.
Checks in the post,
Yeah,
Dan. Listen,
yeah.
love for the love, people. Let's get over to Daniel Bailey TV. Let's get over to Albert J TV.
I'll
and
take it in
support the
subs.
content. Yeah, absolutely, man.
I'll take it in subs.
take it in instalments. £1 a week. Is that all right?
Yeah. Hey, listen. Don't let that 4% ticket increase put you off paying me. You know.
Wicked, man, wicked. Boys, thank you so much. Lee, thank you so much, man. I know it's the end of this season, but we'll be doing more content. But this has been a great first season in terms of content, Lee, and in terms of the channel, man. So you must be really happy, bro, with how it's going.
Oh, yeah, it's been fantastic. And just thank everybody for the support and everything like that. Nearly 30,000 people have subscribed, but overwhelming in your first year. So, yeah, and we've got loads of more content coming out. A few little game of golf coming out soon, when we're going to go on the golf course. Watch out for that. And some other things we've got in the pipeline just to get over the summer. And and then we'll of course be back next season with because what goes on Arsenal. There's always something to talk about, lads. There's always something going on, and we love the club, and that's why we're so passionate about it. So thanks for everybody for joining up this season and being part of it. Love it. Thank you very much.
Wicked, man. Thanks to everyone for coming on. Big up the other guests as well earlier on for coming on. Big up you all in the chat. Big up you all listening on the audio. Thank you for all your support. We're going to be back on Thursday night where we got I don't want to do this, but the top 4 show. Tobes will be back to roast myself and Lee. Lawless is coming on to be roasted because he's a West Ham fan. Dan United's coming on to be roasted because there's only going to be Toby just enjoying life, unfortunately. But if you do want to come over for the bants, then please do join us. We'll be doing so on Thursday evening, and then on Friday night Troops will be in the house with myself and Lee, so make sure you don't miss that one. Friday at 6 p.m. to get his rundown of the season. So make sure you like on this video, make sure you're subbed if you're not already. Come over to support the love for the love people, and we will see you next time. Up the Arsenal. Take care, guys.